excited to be sharing this special micro training with Holly, who's going to talk to us a bit about grants, something that I rarely touch on. So she is such an expert in this area and knows how to make them easy and better. And so this is going to be like a little sneak for you. And for those of you who are watching this in time, we're going to actually be doing a fantastic full webinar with Holly, so you can really like dig in. But I'm going to let her take it away and do this great micro training for you. Go ahead, Holly.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here with PivotGround. I know we've had you on my podcast, the Grant Writing and Funding podcast, a few times, and we'll have you up. We just recorded an episode that's coming out, so we'll definitely be showing that soon. So hello, people. I love you guys out there, all working in the nonprofits and doing all of the stuff. And I just want to let you guys know too that we're going to be covering today is going to be all about the funding forecast. So you might be going, what's going on with grants in 2021? That's what I'm going to talk about today. And at the webinar that Sarah was talking about, we're actually going to go through the steps on how to write a grant. So we're talking about grant funding forecast 2021 and beyond. And like I mentioned, if you want to join the How to Write a Grant training, you can definitely click in the YouTube notes before in the comments, but you can definitely sign up for June 15th at 3 p.m. And we're going to go over 7 tips to write grants like a pro. And then you can also, there's the bit.ly there that you can sign up and register for that. All right, so let's get into it. How do we identify? So we're really going to look at identifying these grant funding trends. And this is what we're going to go over today in our micro training. We are going to look at nonprofit economic contribution to the United States. And you guys, just if you're out in other countries, we are going to kind of focus on U.S. funding here. However, it does kind of reflect in other areas of the world right now. So that's something to kind of put in your pocket. We're going to look at projected U.S. federal funding, and we're also going to look at foundation giving. All right, so these are different places to tap into grants. But to lay the land, we really want to look at the nonprofit just contribution in general. So just so you guys know out there, there are over 1.7 million nonprofit organizations in the United States alone. And this is from Nonprofit in Brief in 2019. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And how much do they contribute to the U.S. economy? Over $1.0472 trillion to the United States economy. That is a lot of money. So you know, we come here sometimes we come in with the nonprofits where there's no money for nonprofits, or we just need to hold out our hands for money when it comes to nonprofits because, you know, we're just going to get the crumbs, that sort of thing. I'm here to tell you that nonprofits are a huge part of the overall economy in the United States. They employ people, they pay, you know, they do different things. They buy services, they contract services. They do so many things. They fill gaps, of course. I'm not even talking about the mission. I'm just talking about running a nonprofit contributes to the overall U.S. economy. So to get out of thinking that we just need to hold out our hands for crumbs, no, you're a super important part and leg of the overall economy and contribution. And that is even before you touch your mission. All right. So let's go ahead and look at federal grant funding trends. So now you say, okay, well, there's that many and they contribute that much money. How much money are they getting from the federal government? Well, in order to really get a really good bird's eye on this, we kind of have to go back before pandemic and then look at what happened during 2020. So like in the mud of the pandemic, and then kind of what's been unfolding so far in 2021, to really look at the forecast. So let's go ahead and look at 2019. In 2019, pre-pandemic, there were over 458,000 federal grants given to nonprofits in that year, in that fiscal year, right? So that's a lot of grants, So how much money was that? Well, overall, that was $4.7 trillion. And this includes fixed charges as well as grants. So that is a huge portion. That's a lot of money. Once again, it's going out into those nonprofits. Nonprofits then are delivering those services. They're hiring people. They're doing things. It's a huge part and leg of the economy. What about 2020? What happened? Well, here's what happened. There were actually more federal grants given out. And you might say, well, yeah, there was a lot of COVID funding, and we get that. But let's look and see how much money then. So more grants given out, yes, quite a few. How much more money was given out? Maybe the same, maybe there's more money or more grants given out and they're trying to split the money up. Let's look at that. Well, what happened was actually a lot more money, right? So you might say, okay, that was a good infusion into the economy. That was needed at the time. There was a lot of COVID funding. What about now? Is that going to continue? Are we going to see these trends continue? Are we going to see cuts? What are we going to see? Well, I don't have a magic a ball for you, crystal ball for you, but I can tell you what's happened so far in 2021, so we can see some patterns here. So far, there's been over 217,000 federal grants given out. So we're pretty much on par. We're moving forward. We are moving forward, maybe a little pre-pandemic, but still, that's a good number, right? As we move into, this is up till May of quarter two. So not at the end of quarter two, but we're moving up. And the money, 3.7 trillion. So we're actually having a lot more funding, maybe not as many grants, but now they're giving out larger grants, and they're continuing to infuse this into nonprofits as well. And you can find all this information on usspendingaswell.com. So that's what's kind of happening. We are seeing that there are grants available. So don't just dismiss it and say, oh, there's not money right now, all of that. No, there actually is. And this is a part of really re-stimulating the economy. So let's look at the proposed budget that's been put forward. We're seeing a lot more funding going, and these are all different department agencies, federal agencies. So a lot of agencies, this is comparison to before, right, to before it was enacted, right? It's not enacted yet, but we can at least see what the proposal is. And to say, okay, there's going to be a lot of additional monies, maybe not this much, but this much percentage, but there are going to be additional monies given to these federal agencies who then give out the grants. So we're seeing a lot of this. We know that this is going to continue moving forward to have more grants and higher amounts going out there. All right, so now let's look at foundation grants. So we looked at the overall economy, we looked at federal grants, now we're looking at foundation grants. What's happening there? Because remember, foundation grants are private entities. These are non-federal, they're non-governmental. And we'll say, well, there's over 88,000 foundations in 2019. So that's pretty big. There's a lot of them, compared to serve nonprofits. So let's go ahead and look at funding facts. I'm going to say this is a little bit back, but you can see the trends on private foundations and community foundations. It's still going up. The trend does still increase. And we have seen, we're going to kind of go into what's going on today. But look at that, $72 billion. Even though that community foundation, you're like, oh, looks like, well, but that's $9 billion. There's still a lot of money coming from the private sector for grants. So let's look at today. Well, 2020, what we see is that the second quarter in 2020, there was a 45% increase in the total dollar amount granted and a 2% increase in the total amount of grants issued. So we're kind of seeing that same on par with what the federal government was doing. That was also happening with foundations as well. And in 2021, we're actually seeing an increase still of grants given out by foundations. So we are seeing this continue. How long this will continue, it's probably going to be plateauing at some point, but there still is this infusion into the economy, and that means you nonprofits. So just to summarize today, we identified different grant funding trends, including the nonprofit economic contribution overall, just to kind of lay the framework, projected federal funding, and foundation giving. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed today. Once again, please do join us at the free masterclass, Grant Writing 101, 7 Tips to Write Grants Like a Pro. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Holly. That was fantastic. So interesting. I hope everybody's excited and kind of got a little sense of what's going on. Do join us for the webinar. But for anybody who's watching this training after the webinar and they missed it, how should they reach out to you and get in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah, so they can definitely contact me at grantwritingandfunding.com. All one word. They can definitely go to my website and be able to reach out to me there. I'm on LinkedIn too. I'm on Instagram, all that fun stuff. But the best part is just to go to my hub. I have a bunch of other free resources. I have the grants formula. I have other resources they can tap into. And of course, the podcast is located there as well.
Fantastic. Well, this has been another great micro training, and we'll see you all soon.
Hope to see you guys next week.